Hi, everyone. This is Stephanie Mann at the Safe Kids Now show, and I am so happy to be here today and share with you some information from a colleague of mine for many years. And our guest today is Dr. Barbara Williams, and she is a native Californian from San Francisco and attended schools in Richmond, California. Dr. Barbara is the mother and a grandmother, and she is retired from being an insurance banker and a real estate agent. So she has taught in the field of Christian education for over 45 years. So we're so happy to have her join us today. And we're going to talk about a very important subject. And this is how you can empower yourself too. Many people today feel powerless, but you're not powerless. And we want to give you some information to make you feel like you're not helpless. And we can basically give you some ideas on what you can do to create a safer community for you and your children. So welcome, Dr. Barbara Williams. Hi, Dr. Barbara.
Hello, Miss Stephanie. Such a pleasure to see you.
So good to see you. We have worked together for how many years?
We started working together in 2009, so do the math there. Yeah, we've been together that long. I had to go back and do some kind of researching, and I said, me and Miss Stephanie did our first presentation in 2009. We were together before then, but we started on the Adopt a Block and Project 514 in 2009.
Mm-hmm. My goodness, how time flies, right? Yes. When you're having fun.
Yes.
Yes. I wanted to talk about, and this is especially important because I really want to empower people, because a lot of people since COVID have gotten socially isolated, and that's a killer. Mm-hmm. We have suicide rates that have gone up with children, 45% since 2020. Mm-hmm. That was hard to read even. Mm-hmm. And the social isolation is taking a huge toll on adults too, because mm-hmm. we are creatures of connection. We mm-hmm. love connection. And mm-hmm. so we're going to talk about this little book, mm-hmm. the Adopt a Block program. Mm-hmm. And it's a guidebook, and mm-hmm. It's something that anybody can do. Mm-hmm. And why don't you tell us about your experience with doing the Adopt a Block program?
Well, when we came on board with Safe Kids Now, I was asked to be a part with Adopt a Block. Adopt a Block was one of the things that we needed even at that time in 2009, when our neighborhoods and the crime in our neighborhoods was escalating. And in the city of Richmond, oh gosh, during that time, we were like number 9 in the nation. And when I met Stephanie, we were talking about that and how it affects our neighbors, but not only our neighbors, but our children. And so when I got hold to Stephanie and the Adopt a Block, we realized that it is something that each and every one of us do. And you'll find out with the statistics that police can't police all of our neighborhoods, and we can't keep throwing money into programs that are not working. And one of the things that Adopt a Block started off saying was that every child deserves a safe neighborhood. And the whole idea was to turn the hearts of the community back to the children. And so by
Right.
getting into the neighborhoods and empowering the people who had now gotten behind their closed doors, afraid of what was going on in their neighborhood and started isolating themselves, we told them that the only people that can really come in and take care of your neighborhood are you, and you have to be the peacemakers in your neighborhood. So Adopt a Block was for anybody. It was for Mr. Neighbors, Mr. Joe Blow, civics leaders, merchants. I was a merchant. I had my own insurance business. And it was one of the things that we also said, that we can go into our communities and start empowering our communities by telling them, you can take control of your neighborhood. You can gather together. And with Adopt a Block, it began to tell you the steps on how to organize your own neighborhood, even your one street. Just adopt your street and go in and gather the neighbors. One of the things in the Adopt a Block book that was so good, and it had a survey, is to go through the neighborhood and survey your neighborhood. Find out if anybody's been a victim of a violent crime. And then also ask them, what is it can we do for this neighborhood, for our street? And then the third question was, what skills do you have that can help us and that we can join together to help create a safer community for each one of us on this block? And so Adopt a Block was one of those self-help programs that I found out when we started working in 2009 and we began to market it, that it works. It's tried, it's tested, and it works. Making safe.
Definitely. And, I might remind people that if you have any questions, you can write them into our box for Dr. Barbara. And I see that we have one of our favorite people that have made a statement for you, Dr. Barbara. And she says, so glad to see you again, Dr. Barbara. And that's Rebecca Kimball. So she's on the line. So she's a friend for many years. And she's done wonderful work in stopping polygamists and polygamy. So she's one of our team members too. So,
yes.
So continue with what you were saying about Adopt a Block, because there's so much information you learn as a result of just knowing your neighbors that you might not have even known about them. So you got to go ask some questions.
We sure do. One of the things that we as we learn that to empower people, to tell them that you're the ones that have to take control. And Stephanie can give you all the figures of how many policemen we have per capita in our neighborhoods and in our cities, and there's not even enough to be able to come into our neighborhoods. But we also found out that much of the crime that was being perpetrated in our own communities were even our own teenagers and children in idle time, and those that needed some help and a helping hand, not handouts. This is about a helping hand. We're committing many of the problems. So we learned, we were teaching people even in Adopt a Block how to come together as one. Again, I have to go back to that survey and find out what is it that the neighborhood needs. If you've got a lot of single mothers in the neighborhood, then you need someone that's going to be able to help them. They may need other fathers in the neighborhood to come and help them with their teenagers or their young men. It may be that the seniors in the neighborhood are afraid to come out and they need help. We talked about even once you have actually organized your community, and I want to just say even your block, and you know how many people you have on the block that are seniors. Then one of the things that we went into one church, and I have to tell this story. We went into one church and we were talking about Adopt a Block, and that was St. Paul Baptist Church in Oakland, Pastor Flaming Henry. And we were telling them how you can get in the neighborhood, find out how many single parents you have, how many of the seniors need help. They may need help taking out their garbage on garbage day. They may need help painting the addresses on the curbside, so when emergency vehicles come in, that they can see them, or they might need a light brigade. Senior citizens can't change lights. They don't know how to do all kinds of things. We began to mention all of those things, and I was so amazed because we had some people there, but we had two little 10-year-olds, two little 10-year-old boys. And we told, all the things that you as a neighbor can do, and how now that means everybody can pitch in to help one another. And after our presentation, about how to get your neighbors together and have all kinds of affairs. The two little ones ran to Stephanie and I and said, "Oh, you know what? We're ready to work. We can go. We can take our neighbors' garbages out. We can paint those numbers on the side." And they were ready and willing to help in their own community, but nobody had told them that they had the power to help those that can't help themselves. They were ready to go. They were. I will never forget that, Stephanie. That was such a shot in the arm for me to go like, hey, if the old folks want to do it, the young people just need to be empowered to take control of their own neighborhoods and have something to do. So it teaches you on Adopt a Block how to organize your neighbors, how to actually have different events going on. It also helps you to go out, tell you how to go out and knock on doors with your neighbors. You can't just go knocking on people's doors, and not in this time. But it gives you a step-by-step on how to adopt your block, the things you can do, how to get your city officials involved, and the most important thing, how to even get your churches involved. And that's one of the things I definitely want to talk and take some time to talk on. But yes, Adopt a Block is what we need for today. Now, we are to take care of our neighbor. Are we our neighbor's keeper? Yes, we are. Are we our brother's keeper? Yes, we are. So when I came on board with Stephanie, one of the main areas that I was going to be working in was we took Adopt a Block, turned it into Project 514, which is Galatians 5:14, which is a mandate to the faith-based community to love your neighbor as yourself. And I tell you, it just blew off the roof then and went off the hook in the various things that we were able to do with some of the churches. And hopefully I'll get a chance to share some of that, Stephanie.
Absolutely. You know, you mentioned about the police, and the statistic was before COVID, 2.4 police officers for every 1,000 citizens.
Mm-hmm.
So the police can't begin to take care of your neighborhood. And you need to be involved in order to get information and share information with the police. Now with defund the police, they're trying to make some shifts, which, you know, I don't disagree with. I think there need to be some shifts, but also we need to have more community responsibility for preventing crime from happening in the first place.
Right.
So why don't you share with us a little bit about your story of working with the churches?
Once we got on board with the working with the churches, and again, the statistics that we were working with way back then, you were talking about in the city of Richmond, you had over 200 and plus churches and almost a church on every corner. And in Oakland, you had 400 and something plus churches and a church on every corner and a church next door to a church. We began to realize that if each one of those churches just adopted the block that they were in, what a significant change it would be in the neighborhood. And so that's the reason with Adopt a Block, and we began to tell people how to take control of the neighborhoods. We then went to the faith-based community and said, you are mandated. Now let's go and say that, mandated to take control of your neighborhood, because we're going to talk about Project 514, and Project 514 was one that when we brought it out, and we said, creating safe communities for children and families by ministering to the needs of your church neighborhood. Now, I need you to understand, this is ministering to the needs of your church neighborhood. Now, that means wherever your church is located, you're responsible for that block. So we tell them it is your responsibility, it is your mandate, it is your charge, your command, whatever you want to call it, to take control of that neighborhood. And so a lot of them were like, yeah, right. Never thought about it like that. Well, that's what it says. And it says also for those in the faith-based community that if you don't love your neighbor as you love yourself, then you'll start biting on one another and you'll all be consumed. That's Galatians 15. But we begin to go into the churches, Stephanie and I, and began to talk with the congregation and the pastors about this very thing. And I just want to share some of the churches that we went into. And
well, before you do that, Dr. Barbara, let's take a little break, because we now have commercial that we need to. So when we come back, Dr. Barbara is going to share with us a story of what actually happened when we went out with a church. So we will be back in just 30 seconds.
Throw and Tuck. It's handmade by myself, and you only can get it here, and it's patent, and it's only here at Rococo Design. It's like a regular pillow, or you can take the blanket out like so, fluff up the pillow, open up your blanket, wrap it around yourself, and then you can lay on your sofa and relax with your pillow, throw and tuck. When you're done with it, just flip it over. When you don't want the blanket anymore, you just fold it over twice. Fold it over twice again. Fold it over. And tuck it in the back. And there you go. You're back to the pillow, throw, and tuck. Rococo Design.
Oh, well, welcome back. In case you tuned us in a little bit late, we are speaking with Dr. Barbara Williams, and she and I worked together for many years on the Adopt-A-Block program, which we are talking about today. And we also have another little book, My First Steps to a Safe Neighborhood, which you can find on the safekidsnow.com website. And if you're really interested, I will send you an Adopt-A-Block book PDF, and you can put your own, just put your name on it and not, of your church or whatever. And you can roll them right off print it off into numerous copies so that you can we want you to get the message out to everyone that, we are not hopeless, we are not helpless, but we are going to be engaged and taking back our neighborhood safety. So, Dr. Barbara, tell us about your experience with going door to door with a pastor and some of his congregation.
Stephanie, we had so many pastors in their congregations. I'm just going to go down the list real quickly because each one of the things in the Adopt-A-Block book, which is the same thing as Project 514, is that we teach you how to go into your neighborhood and take a survey of what it is that you need in your neighborhood. So we teach you how to go out by threes. You actually go out in three. One person is actually going to the door, knocking on the door and introducing themselves and saying, I'm here, I'm a part of your neighborhood, I am your neighbor. And you can give the name of your church or your organization. That's the reason I said it doesn't have to be a church, it could be an organization, or you can just say, I'm your neighbor. One of the things we're concerned about is our neighborhood. Would you help me to answer a few questions and see if we can find out if we can do and make our neighborhood safer? So you have one person that is actually talking. You have another person that's writing down the answers, and we actually have this survey in the Adopt-A-Block book. And the first thing we ask is, have you ever been a victim of a violent crime? And the person may answer yes or no. You write it down, then you have that information. And then the next question is, what do you think the needs in this community are? And so some of the churches that we went into, we found out that some of the people and some of the seniors, all they needed was, I just need water and somebody to come by and bring me some water. We had a lot of seniors that felt isolated, and some of our churches then, when they found out that that's what the need was, they bought whistles to give out to the seniors that they could have. Everybody can't afford a life alert system, so they gave out whistles. So that means if the mailman is passing by or the children are going through the neighborhood and they keep hearing this whistle, they know that the senior in that apartment or that home or somewhere needs some help. And so then the other thing was on the survey, it has a skill bank. It says, what skill do you have, or what is it that you can donate or would like to do to give back to our neighborhood or our community or this street right here? We went to some, as our churches were going through, they found out in their community, they had retired teachers that said, oh, I'm a retired teacher. If you start up an after-school program, I'll come and tutor your children. We had one gentleman in the neighborhood. He was a Hispanic gentleman. He said, oh, I'd like to get with the neighbors and be able to represent them, to go down to City Hall to tell them we need this and we need that and we need that. So we found out that we had a representative in the neighborhood. And then as we went through to other neighborhoods, there were various things. So that's what we teach you how to do with the survey in the Adopt-A-Block book. Now, for the churches, we asked them to put it on their flyer that they were going to give to the neighbors is a handout that said, hey, this is Earthquake Preparedness Month. These are some of the things you need to do in case of an earthquake. Can we leave this with you? And it tells them about how they must get water, get their medicine. And also on the top of that, you get to put your name, your church name. We're not proselytizing, we're not evangelizing, but we are there to let the neighborhood know that we are here and we are aware and we care. And if they need some help, they can call this number. There you have your church, boom, in there, right there in their house where they can call on you. In case of an emergency, also, we can contact them because we know how many seniors, how many single mothers, and all that we have in our neighborhood. That's what it means to take control of your neighborhood. And so then we go house to house, and then you hear all the stories that people have, and you meet so many. And so, as I stated, when we were in Oakland at the St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church, the young men were excited about going out and being able to help their seniors. So they were ready to go. We went to a church in, and I hope David is around, Bay Area, Bay Area Family Church. And they put together backpacks and went out into the neighborhood with the earthquake preparedness list and to let them know this is the thing you need to do in case of emergency. These are water. And so the neighbors now know that the church and the community really cares about us. They don't just come in, have their services, and then go out. We went there and we did a project with the Bay Area, and the Bay Area is a unification church. Then we went to New Hope Baptist Church in Richmond. That's an African-American church. And that's where the lady said, I just need water. I need somebody. Pastor Jackson made sure that senior got water, Stephanie. We took her crates of water, and they're still doing a great work there in Richmond. Then we went to Life Changing Church, Baptist Church, which is an Indonesian church in San Leandro. They contacted Stephanie and I because we do these same seminars at the Bay Area Bass Convention in Oakland. You have about 50,000 people coming in, and we wanted them to know, how can you make your neighborhood safe by Project 514? By ministering to the needs of your community. So that church contacted us, and we went out, and they had a school across the street that they had never visited.
And I might interject at this point that we have a recording of one of our presentations to the Bass Conference, which is on safekidsnow.com.
Yes.
Just go to programs and go to faith groups. And you will hear that whole recording of what Dr. Barbara and I talk about. And we talk about what we're talking about today, the Adopt a Block program. So you can hear it over or share it with your pastor and help them to know why this is important, because it doesn't happen automatically. Somebody's got to get out and promote it and talk to the pastor about it. But tell us how one of the pastors reacted. I think it was in San Francisco.
I'm going to get to him because I talked to him yesterday. He's going to be last because he's still our favorite.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he is. Talk about the Life Changing Church in San Leandro. They have a huge congregation, and they had never thought about adopting the school across the street. Once they adopted the school across the street, and they started going to the teachers' meetings and opening up their parking lots so that the school and the parents could have a place to park, they started joining in forces with them, and then they joined forces with the community. Then they started offering free car washes in their parking lot, and the school would send people over. They started taking cookies when they had parent-teachers conference, and now they have a community involvement. Now, the beauty of that one, Stephanie, is the fact that most of the people that attend the congregation live almost 25 to 30 miles outside of that community. But they are in that community, and now they have community involvement in the city and the neighborhood where they worship. It's so important. I saw that young man. He said, we get free haircuts. We do all kinds of things in our neighborhood. And they are so excited because now they are a part of the neighborhood, and it makes a big difference. So we had the one in San Francisco, James Memorial Church of God in Christ. It's basically an African American church. When Stephanie and I were called over to come and do Adopt the Block, right before we were to show up, there had been a shooting of a youngster and a killing, and it was a big tension, and everything was going on in the community. And they
A
said,
lot of fear going on.
Yeah, we said, oh no, we're coming because we definitely need to come now. And we met, we got over there, we encouraged the church to go out because this was a time that the community needed someone to be listening to their concerns. That's when the church is now turned into what we call empathy centers. You have to have, when the neighbor, who do the neighbors go to when there's a shooting or a killing? They're not like a school where they have counselors that come in and grief counselors. No, it is the churches that be opening their doors and say, how do you feel about this? And so many in that neighborhood were willing to talk. They wanted to talk. They were so glad when we knocked on the doors, we were sharing and we listened to them. We heard some of their concerns. We found some young men in the neighborhood that were willing to do so much to help the kids. The older people were trying to get the young people out of the neighborhood. They thought they were the real problems, but the young men say, hey, listen, we're here. We restore cars. And if you would just give us your old cars, we'll take your youngsters, show them how to restore them. Then we'll give them back to you. And then you can sell them and your church have money. I said, you're trying to get rid of these young men and they're trying to bring money into the church. But we had such a great results with it that over there and at James Memorial Church of God in Christ right now, they still have so many things that they're doing. They send out cards every month to their neighbors at Christmas times, thank you cards, holidays and all. And then in October, breast cancer awareness, they send them invitations to come over to the church and discuss the disease. They also have all kinds of programs that are going on there. Now they're inviting families in, one family after church. They're not making them come to church, after church, come have dinner with us, just sit down. And so they have taken control of their neighborhood, taking control of their neighborhood. I love what they're doing. And I just talked with Pastor James just the other day because I asked him, what are you doing? And he gave me a whole list of the things that they're doing. And they get a card from him and his wife and all. That's how we make neighborhoods safe.
That sure is. It's not going to be happening because the police are taking care of your neighborhood. That's not the way it works.
No, it isn't. And so even when you talk about those neighborhoods, if each one of us would make our neighbors, our neighborhood safe for our seniors, for our children, then we have safe neighborhoods.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I might mention about, and I'm sure you remember AJ Giovanni in Richmond, and he adopted 28 children on his block because he saw a lot of single mothers. And the mothers, there weren't enough fathers around. So he became their mentor. And he started Christmas on the streets one Christmas. The other neighbors got involved. They made a sleigh for the kids to have their picture taken. And AJ became Santa Claus. And they got even one man created out of a motor he had. I don't know where he got it, but and he made a train to take the kids around the block.
Right.
So they just blocked off that block. And then they had a jumpy house. This was over time as it grew. And they'd had as many as 300 kids from all over the neighborhoods coming in just because they wanted to have a happy Christmas. And the kids, the parents brought food and they had a festival in the neighborhood. We're not asking you to do that. We want you to start out slow, just get connected with your neighbors and at least know them. And who are the kids on the block? And this is the way you can start not feeling powerless, but powerful. So anyway, you add what you want there. Dr. Barbara?
Yes, there are so many things that we in the faith-based community can do, and we are mandated to do. I definitely want to talk about even my own church, and some of us are even on another level. And I'm at Kingdom Builders Christian Fellowship, and we're in the city of Oakland. And one of the things we did, even with our Adopt the Block, when we had our men's group that went out into the neighborhood, and it was kind of funny because most of the men went out. We had a couple of young men, then we had our older gentlemen. We had one on a walker and one on a cane, and they were walking and knocking the doors, just like we said. One would go knock on the door and say, "We're in your neighborhood. We'd like to give you some information on earthquake preparedness in case something happens, and you can always give us a call if you need anything." Then we're here, and then ask them 3 questions, and then we have a third person that's standing at the gate or at the street watching, because we must be aware of what's going on today. That's the reason you go out in threes. Adopt the Block book tells you all and gives you all the instruction on how to do that. But you know what happened was those men were walking the streets, and then the young boys on bicycles passed by, and then they came back by and said, "What are you guys doing?" They began to see that the older gentlemen were concerned about what was going in the neighborhood. And we came back and they were going to mow the lawns and do the things for the people there. We found some resources in our neighborhood. And then they were like, oh, and so the older guys got to talk to the young guys. The next thing that happened, the younger guys driving in cars, they passed down the street. They saw these old men going house to house. They came back and they said, "What are those guys doing?" And it was, if nothing else, it let the older generation communicate with the younger generation that it is our neighborhood and we have to take care of it. That was the most powerful statement at that time, Stephanie. And we went on. I want to say with Kingdom Builders, we found out that we needed programs in the community. We had car washes, we have health fairs. But one of the things that we have actually incorporated in our neighborhoods around our church are sober living facilities that are ran by our church. We're not there to give handouts to the men. We're there to give them hands up. And so we have men there. We also have our Dream Center that in 2017, we brought into existence, where we actually we have transitional housing for the formerly incarcerated men that have been in prison for 20 years and then they're to life, and they come back into the neighborhoods and they have no place to go. They need skills. We take them in, and we are now in our facility. On last year, we had 323 residents. And out of those 323, we had 277 of them to graduate, which is 86%. Then we also had, we received them, and we had 284 of those men that gained employment, gainful employment. So we're not only giving them handouts, we're giving them hands up. And we have discovered that if we develop healthy men, we'll have healthy families, we'll have healthy neighborhoods, we'll have healthy communities, and that's what it's going to take. And then out of that also, that's what we do. Is it hard, Stephanie? Does it take years? But I can brag on us and say we are developing men to make neighborhoods and our 2 facilities. And then we also rented a place to do a thrift shop for the community.
I want to say you guys are really making a difference. You're not just adopting a neighborhood, which is a good first step for any church to move out into the community, but then they begin to learn that people have needs, and starting support groups so that people can come in and talk about their fears, talk about if you've had a shooting in the neighborhood, talk about it and get, that's a healthy way of approaching anything. You need to communicate, and we are social creatures. We need to share information with each other. We need to be a support system for each other.
Yes.
And you don't have to be an expert.
Now, if you want to be good at what you do, then you call Stephanie and I. We'll come in and help you how to discover what your spiritual gifts are, your talents and abilities. And then people in your own congregation will be able to do what it is they've already been designed to do. That's one of the things we fail to do, is give people the opportunity to do what they're gifted to do. That's back to that survey. You got so many people in your neighborhood that have skills, talents, and abilities that we never capitalize on because we never asked them.
Yeah, Dr. Barber, do you remember where that survey is? Because I remember that David Rosenblum, who's one of our fellow followers and
Yeah,
greeters, and he's an
yeah.
outreach man, and he took the test, and he found out he
Oh,
was.
yes.
Remember, David, and
Yes.
he has been. What was the word?
An encourager
An encourager.
and
And
a
he
leader.
is such an encourager. And he has his own group now
Yes.
because he's encouraging other people to get involved. But where do you go to find that test?
Oh, wow. For those that want to know what your spiritual gifts, talents, and abilities, it's Team, TEAM, Ministry, MINISTRY .org, I think is what it is. Man, I'd have to go back and look it up. Teamministry.org.
Okay,
This could be
well,
a spiritual gift assessment that comes up. Yeah.
because I think it's important for people to take a test.
Oh,
It's not difficult. You do it by yourself, and
yeah.
you find out more about you and what you can really contribute to the community. And once you feel
Yes.
emboldened,
Yes.
it's. I remember Barbara Vigil. I
Yeah.
don't remember this story.
Mhm.
And Barbara she came into our office. I was a crime prevention coordinator for our county. And Barbara came into our office and she was irate because there was a prostitution on one corner and they had a drug dealer on the other corner. And she was so angry because she'd called the police. They said they couldn't do much about it, blah, blah, blah. So she said, I want them to come down and put a stop to this. I'm very concerned about what's going on in our parks and blah. She was just upset about the drug dealers in the park.
Mhm.
So as a result of that, we talked to her about getting her neighbors involved. They
Mhm.
They went into the park, and without being noticed, they took pictures.
Mhm.
They took down descriptions. They took down license plate numbers,
Mhm.
and we turned that information out. And they put the time of day when this was going on, and
Right.
so the police had an accurate picture of when these problems were really happening, so that they managed to arrest these criminals. Well, now this is where you have to have a police department. You
Yes.
have to have a police department. The
Right.
citizens did the work of getting the information, but the
Right.
police arrested them. And within 3.5 months, they had that park all cleaned up. And the city council had originally voted to fence off the park because they
Right.
couldn't, keep the drug dealers out. But now they went back to city council and said to them, look, you were going to spend a lot of money for
Right.
that fence. And they said, we want new swing sets and benches and tables for the children.
Yes.
So we took back the park. And
Yes.
their request was granted.
Yes.
That's citizen power in action.
That's
And
exactly right.
it works, but you cannot do it if you're expecting the police to do it to everything. It's not going to happen.
That's right.
So get up your nerve and actually get involved and keep marching on this. Don't
Yes.
give up, and talk to your churches
Yeah.
about the importance of getting their church members. And it doesn't take everybody.
That's it.
6 people
Yes.
on each side of the street can start
Yes.
small and then build. Everything that happens in a good way starts small.
It does.
In your community, start small, and then when you see how it works and how excited people get, don't be discouraged if somebody slams a door in your face. It's okay. Just
Right.
move on to the next person. And the person that says, and you ask this question, will you help?
Yes.
Those are the people that you
Yes.
write the numbers down, your address, and have a coffee with them and start putting your plan together. Okay, what are we going to do? Here are some of the problems in the neighborhood. How do we
Yes.
start addressing this? So
Yeah.
it's very exciting to see people in motion doing what is important to make their community safe, and especially keeping their kids safe, because this is outrageous. that we have so many shootings in these neighborhoods, which is
Exactly.
totally preventable. All of this is preventable, but it's not going to happen if you're waiting for the politicians. Please don't wait for the politicians. It's not going to happen. It's just not.
No, I don't care how much money. We said that, and Stephanie, in the presentation, if you go to Safe Kids Now and you look at the presentation, and we went on to say, it's guns do not kill people. People kill people.
That's
And
right.
if you took every gun off the street, you would still have people harming other people because it is a heart and a mind thing, not a gun issue. And until
Absolutely.
we get people to realize that I am my brother's keeper, I do love you like I love myself, and that we all come together. And the reason I mention all of those churches, and it doesn't matter what your ethnicity is, it doesn't matter what your nationality, it doesn't matter what your congregation is made up. It is you as an individual. Each one of those churches, each one was, and we're all working the same tool, the same system. It works. I don't care if you're African American. I don't care if you're Indonesian. I don't care if you're Hispanic. It has no race on it. It has a human race on it, which is everybody is my brother. So when we get into whose lives matter, all lives matter. I will say that. So I say that to all of us until we can get into our communities and take control of our neighborhoods. So don't get mad if somebody's not taking control of your neighborhood. You look in the mirror and say, my neighborhood, my yard. What's going on in my yard? And I used to tell the churches all the time, I walk through all these weeds and all of the debris to get into your beautiful edifice and sanctuaries, your little places where you huddle and you have your holy huddle. And then I have to go out your door and go back through this weeds and all of this debris, which you will not take care of your front yard, which is your neighborhood. What kind of message are we sending? Hello? So, I want to encourage everybody that's listening today, please visit the Safe Kids Now website. Go and look at the Adopt the Block book. And Stephanie's offering you a challenge today that she's going to send it to you free. If you go, you're going to have to pay for it if you don't. But it is the most valuable tool for you. And I mean, I'm talking to you that are listening today, not your church, you who are watching, you. Get the book. See, it gives you every step on how to take control of your neighborhood and make it a safe neighborhood. So this is not about, well, my people won't do this. This is you. I'm through, Stephanie. She gave me my soapbox for today, and I just.
I love you. I love you. Rebecca has made a comment here that I have to read. She says, this show is inspirational. You are changing lives. God bless both of you. Rebecca,
we love you. That's another one. The power of one. Go.
Right.
We still have her on our Safe Kids Now website. The power of one. She will tell you, and if you have a story that you want to tell, how you've made a change in your own neighborhood or in your community or even in your own household, contact Stephanie. That's what Rebecca does, and she used to broadcast those for us. It only takes one. It only takes, right. You have the power to change lives. That's what we're talking about.
Don't sit back in your little house or your apartment or whatever you're living in and say, why can't somebody do something?
Right.
Let's change these politicians. I'm so angry with them. Don't worry about it. Just do what you can do and do it today.
Okay? And let me just throw this picture in. Stephanie showed you a book that if you get it into the hands of your children, the little ones, the young kids, making my neighborhood safe. Don't we have one for children this one right here. Give it to your kids. My first step to a safe neighborhood. Let them have it. Let them take care of their neighborhood. They'll do it better than we can. I promise you. So we have the tools. We just need to get them in your hands.
That's right. And you need to take a step to make this country better. Mm-hmm. Because there are 340,000 churches in this country. My goodness. Look at the power we have as Christians and Jews to take back our country at
one
the
block at a time
level. That's what's going to change.
One block at a time. Just say one block at a time. Sometimes you got a church. Just take one block. Just take your church.
That's it. One block.
One block.
Well,
you don't have to, yeah.
Any final thoughts, Dr. Barbara?
I just want to say I made mention of that, is that you may not live in the community, and if your community is good, then get up and go to somebody else's community that isn't. Right. Join a church. If you're in the highlands, find one in the flatlands. If you're in the flatlands, go to the highlands. If you're in a community where everything is going well, adopt a community that isn't. You don't have to live there to help them make their neighborhood safe. Don't sit around and talk about what they're not doing, because if you're not giving them any help, then the burden lies on you, because evidently they're not able to help themselves.
Then you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you.
You're part of the problem. And let me say this live. Stephanie Mann, many of you may not know, she was one of those that was instrumental in getting what we call now the Neighborhood Watch going. It wasn't called the Neighborhood Watch. It was called the Neighborhood Responsibility. So every time you see Neighborhood Watch, you're seeing the work of this lady who has been on the wall, as we say, for years and years. And I just want to commend you, Stephanie, for doing the work that you're doing. And I am so godly proud to be a part of Safe Kids Now with Rebecca and Cecily and David, and so many of our that are part of our Safe Kids Network. We've been around now, we're talking 10 years, more, 15, 16 years, and we're going to another level. So I want to commend you on being on this broadcast, Stephanie, and staying true to who you are as a crime prevention specialist.
Well, I want to thank you, Dr. Barber, because she has been an inspiration to all of us. And as you can see, she's an amazing speaker. And I know she's in Detroit right now, but she lives in California or Georgia. I know she jumps all over. So she's making a difference wherever she goes.
That's right.
So I want to thank you so much for joining me today and sharing an amazing message to anybody and everybody, because it's going to be we the people that make the changes. Don't expect the politicians to do it. They can't even agree among themselves. So we can, in the church, agree among ourselves to go out and help our neighbors. So
we're mandated.
A mandate.
514. Love thy neighbor.
Project 514. So thank you again for joining me today. Love you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
All right. Take care. Okay. I want to thank Dr. Barber for joining me today. She is such an inspiration, and I love her so much. She has given so much of her time and effort to helping other people, and that's exactly what we all can do. And next week, we're going to have another guest, and we hope you will join us next week at every Wednesday at 1 o'clock Pacific time or 4 o'clock Eastern time. So thank you for joining me today, and I will look forward to talking to you in 1 week. Take care.
Hello, this is Najesti from Butter Me Essentials Natural Hair and Body Company. We are located in Brooklyn, New York. We are a family-owned company, which is run by my husband, Vaden, and I. Do you have hair that is hard to manage? Having trouble with hair growth? Is your skin always dry? No problem. Butter Me Essentials is here with the solution. We specialize in hair butters, pomades, hair elixirs, shampoos, conditioners, luxury soaps, body butters, lotion bars, perfumes, scrubs, and so much more. All of our products is made with natural and organic ingredients such as shea butter, cocoa butter, mango butter, Jamaican black castor oil, avocado oil, Oregon oil, and essential oils. There is no sulfates, petroleum, mineral oils, or parabens, just all natural goodness. If you would like to order our products, check out our website at buttermeessentials.com, buttermeessentials.com, or call 646-524-3351, 646-524-3351. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Remember, like our motto says, you deserve to be buttered.